But when you think about it, our enthusiasm's a sham. We don't want other worlds. We want mirrors.
Conservative activist Leonard Leo received a $1.6 billion donation in 2021, which is believed to be the largest single political contribution in U.S. history. Under his influence, the court has already expanded presidential immunity beyond historic precedent, stripped regulatory agencies of their ability to restrain corporate harm, and weakened the Voting Rights Act and opened states to partisan election control. This was not judicial philosophy. It was state capture through jurisprudence. The donation was made to the Marble Freedom Trust, a 501c4 social welfare organization, which allows for unlimited, anonymous political spending. The funds are designed to influence American culture, politics, and legal systems, not to influence elections, but to end them as decisive instruments of governance. The donor, Barry Side, a 90-year-old electronics manufacturing tech firm based in Chicago, was identified as a benefactor. Side donated 100% of his shares in his manufacturing company, Trip Light, to the Marble Freedom Trust just before selling the company, allowing him to avoid an estimated $400 million in capital gains taxes. The Koch network, industrial autocracy. The Koch dynasty did not simply lobby government. They replaced its functions. Through Americans for Prosperity and ALEC, or ALEC, they authored thousands of bills enacted in state legislatures without public debate. They manufactured economic crises to justify privatization. Their goal was not policy victory, but sovereignty, the conversion of government into a management arm for extractive capitalism. They recognized Trump's utility not because of his ideology, he has none, but because of his vacancy. A will without restraint is a perfect carrier for an ideology of removal of rights, removal of public oversight, and removal of democratic constraint. Peter Thiel, The Post-Democratic Blueprint. With a Koch target regulation, Leo targets law, Thiel targets democracy itself. His position is explicit. Democracy is incompatible with capital concentration. He does not propose an alternative. He is building one. Through Palantir, he supplies intelligence infrastructure to the state while positioning himself above it. Through venture power, he funds candidates willing to end secular government and transfer sovereignty to technological financial complexes. His ambition is not to rule by law or elections, but by data and ownership. Elon Musk, the reality channeler. Where previous moguls controlled industries, Musk controls perception. With the acquisition of Twitter, he did not buy a company. He acquired the central artery of political narrative. By reinstating extremist accounts, throttling independent journalists, promoting state-aligned propaganda, and advertising his platform as the official so-called voice of the people, Musk merged private capital with the machinery of mass conditioning. His goal is not discourse, it is dominance. When a platform becomes the filter through which reality is experienced, regulation becomes irrelevant and truth becomes proprietary. The foreign power alignment. American exceptionalism obscures the truth that the fight for autocracy is international. Putin, MBS, and Netanyahu do not share ideology. They share strategy. They observe that a fractured, grievance-driven United States is a pliable United States. The goal was never to conquer America from without, but to erode it from within until its institutions could be co-opted to serve external interess. Under Trump, NATO was threatened, alliances destabilized, trade policy rewritten to reward authoritarian partners, and international law was reduced to bargaining. This was not isolationism. It was alignment with a new club of permanent rulers: Christian nationalism, the sacred veil. No authoritarian movement can thrive on power alone. It needs transcendence. It needs to claim inevitability, destiny over deliberation. Christian nationalism offered that veil. It rebranded political control as divine mandate. It replaced Jesus of the Sermon on the Mount with a warrior Christ of conquest. It anointed Trump as a flawed vessel chosen by God to shatter secular democracy and usher in biblical rule. Its leaders no longer spoke in the language of persuasion, but of prophecy. Government was no longer a contract. It was an anointing, the unifying principle. These factions are often portrayed as disparate: libertarian billionaires, fossil capitalists, religious zealots, autocratic foreign leaders, tech futurists. In truth, they are a single organism. Each removes one layer of resistance. Courts remove legal limits. Money removes public oversight. Religion removes moral resistance. Media removes reality. The figurehead, Trump, removes shame. The objective is not chaos, it is control. This is not a coalition of belief. It is a cartel of power, and it is already moved from influence to enforcement. The Doctrine: how an American president became the mouthpiece of a global authoritarian revival. Authoritarian movements do not succeed because their leaders are strong. They succeed because their doctrines are clear. To understand the crisis unfolding in the United States, one must stop treating Donald Trump's statements as disruptions and begin reading them as doctrine. A doctrine is not a slogan. It is a theory of power. It names who is human and who is not. It declares whose votes matter and whose can be discarded. It identifies which laws are real and which must be terminated. Doctrine is the architecture of permission. Once accepted, it justifies anything. Trump did not invent this doctrine. He repeated it, he summoned it, and millions responded, not because they were persuaded by argument, but because they recognized the oldest political promise in history, the promise that their identity will be restored through the removal of someone else's rights. Every authoritarian ideology, fascist, apartheid, imperial, dominionist, belongs with the same proposition: the people are pure, the nation is eternal, and the leader is the instrument through which purity will be restored against internal corruption. Trump's words must be read in that context. They are not spontaneous, they are ritual. I am the chosen one. They're not people, they're animals. We will be a dictatorship only for one day. The blood of our country is being poisoned. You won't have a country anymore. I alone can fix it. These are not political claims. They are metaphysical claims, assertions of sacred destiny and existential threat. Once accepted, they give moral license to any act of force, any suspension of law, any purging of opponents. This is not exaggeration. These sentences have historical equivalence, not in nuance, but in structure. They follow the fascist logic described by Mussolini, the racial logic enforced by Hendrik Verwoerd and apartheid in South Africa, the genocidal logic broadcast in Rwanda. The grammar is the same. 1. Purity has been lost. 2. An enemy within is to blame. 3. Normal law cannot save us. 4. Only an extraordinary leader can. 5. Resistance to the leader is treason. The brilliance of Trump's doctrine is that it was not delivered as doctrine. It was delivered as entertainment, grievance, patriotism, humor, outrage. The method was American. The context was fascist. the 5 pillars of the doctrine. Trump's words aligned with historical precedents, the behavioral conditioning mechanism, media, religion, AI, and militias. How a doctrine becomes policy and policy becomes regime. The doctrine. The rhetoric of Donald Trump is often dismissed as improvisational, impulsive, or unserious. This is a lie told by those who benefit from pretending not to understand him. His words are not random. They are doctrinal. They follow the exact architecture of every authoritarian project that has ever hollowed out a republic. They convert followers not through policy, but through identity reformation. They convert law not through debate, but through exception. They convert democracy into obedience. Doctrine is how authoritarianism speaks before it acts. It is not argued. It is performed, repeated, ritualized. It names enemies. It sanctifies power. It declares the leader as the only vessel through which the nation can be saved. Once doctrine is accepted, democracy becomes not merely wrong, it becomes immoral.